And we are back with Bill Gates talking about education and perhaps some other things as well. Bill, other than eradicating world disease and hunger, your biggest focus, and particularly in the United States, has been on education. People see this as something that is absolutely crucial. We can't compete in the new knowledge economy in this new globalized world. And yet, most people are very frustrated and pessimistic. They feel as though somehow, year after year, you talk about reform, but nothing really seems to move the needle. What do you say to them?
I'll be the first to admit that the overall results in U.S. K-12 education have not improved dramatically yet. And so but I do think there are things being done about helping teachers improve, better curriculum, and the use of technology that will take that space at the current investment levels and allow us to do a far better job. That's an optimistic statement, but we're seeing in pockets as we apply these new approaches, we are seeing a very big impact.
You've now started focusing your attention on something that people tend to think of as the kind of crown jewel of the American educational system, which is, everyone agrees we do K through 12 badly, or at least badly for the bottom half of the socioeconomic spectrum. But college education, we're supposed to be the world leaders at. But you say not so fast.
Well, certainly in terms of the top 100 institutions in the world, the U.S. dominates that list. In the rankings, you'd get anywhere from half to 80% of the top 100 institutions here. And, their business model, because they have philanthropy, that's working great. They turn out great research. But that's not the engine of equality. It's more the two-year community colleges, it's the four-year colleges that are largely state-associated are where the majority of kids go. And there, if we look at completion rates, do the kids get the degree that they want to get? And if we look at how much they learn in those institutions, and if we look at the cost trends, where because state support is going down, the sticker price is going way up on those things, the trends are very scary. So I think this is a muscle we need to renew, look at the loan programs and the grant programs and what kind of incentives can there be for really having excellence, not just that you admit good students, but actually they're smarter, more able to do jobs when you're done, and that they get all the way and complete their degree.
Do you think American universities focus enough on that question of actually teaching the student as opposed to producing research and things like that?
The bulk of universities are about teaching kids. The science departments of our elite institutions have this dual role, but the education piece, because we don't measure who's doing it well as much as we should, the kind of prestige ranking, U.S. News Report, whatever you look at, is based on what was their SAT score coming in. Even perversely, they look at how much you spend as a positive thing, as opposed to saying, oh, you took a kid with a low SAT score, spent very little money, and now he's fantastic at doing these jobs that are open in America.
But there's no output measure. That's the problem. As you say, you're taking you're measuring everything when the kid goes in, but you measure nothing when they come out of college.
Right. So our foundation is challenging the experts in this field to balance these input measures that are leading to, sort of just competition for the kids that would go to some school, to kind of broadening, adding scale, being willing to admit kids with lower SAT scores.
Should all Americans go to four-year colleges, or should we do something that is more familiar in Europe, which is stream in a sense, and have some really diverted to two-year colleges, perhaps one-year diplomas in skills?
Well, certainly not everybody is going to go to 4 years. We don't have the capacity for that. It's probably not a fit. We have lots of jobs that don't require a four-year degree. The number that require just high school, or that a high school dropout can do, those are shrinking a lot. And we do see a shortage in the four-year degree area. So we need to shift people over, but not everyone. We need great two-year programs. And a lot of those are actually the best because they're so connected locally with the employer. I need welders, I need, pilots, I need nurses. it's wonderful to see when they're so in touch with the employer that it's not some abstract thing about the degree. It's really okay. I hired your kids and they were good at this, but they weren't good at this. Change your courses and I'll help you get the equipment. So the 2-year sector is very, very important.
How transformative or disruptive do you think these what are called MOOCs, which many people, many viewers will have seen, which are these MIT courses or Stanford courses that you can just watch the whole course?
Well, it turns out once you graduate from college, the number of people who have time to watch those long lectures, I'm in that market, but it's very small. So then they made them free. And still, it was a very small set of people who benefited from those courses. Now what's been added in the last couple of years, which is causing this change in energy, is 2 things. They don't just have you sit and watch a lecture for 30 minutes or 60 minutes. They do a few minutes and then they engage you. So like the Udacity physics course, PH100, is a great example where he makes physics fun. And you're always thinking, oh, do I understand that or not? Let me go back over this. And so that interactivity piece is new and it's clearly phenomenal. The other thing is that if you have a lot of kids taking the same course, you can use collaborative tools like bullet boards where they're reviewing each other's work, answering each other's questions. And the leverage of the paid staff is extremely high because instead of working one-on-one, they just review this peer-to-peer engagement and making sure it's not going off course, that it's not incorrect, so the students are getting high quality. And so it's very promising, but we have to admit the last 2 times people thought technology would change the space, it didn't happen. And so far the courses have mostly been taken by a fairly elite set of people. So I'm a huge believer in it. The foundation is funding a lot of activity.
And it does feel like the answer, I mean, given the picture you're describing, is one where, education is really important. There's going to be huge pressure on costs and public funding, and all that is drying up. And here you have this innovation, this innovative technology that can allow you to achieve scale and get these courses out. That's going to be inevitably the place we go.
I agree, but again, the status quo is very powerful in education. And so going to a university and saying, hey, these online courses are so good, we don't need you to do lectures anymore. So all your tenured, non-tenured staff do lectures, you're out of that business because that'll just keep improving online. You're more for these counseling sessions and the lab sessions. There's very few universities that are at such a tough place that they're willing to kind of go, wow, we are gonna do it over. And the ones at the top are not going to change. In fact, they probably don't need to. We need, some sort of state schools that say, okay, there's a crisis out there, and so we're going to adopt these new techniques. And we're just barely seeing that.
Bill Gates, pleasure as always.
Thank you.
And we will be back.